At the edge of dawn, when most of the world still sleeps, a single voice rises over the Tennessee hills, carrying decades of stories no spotlight could ever hold. The voice is not loud, not seeking attention, but full of truth. It belongs to a woman whose life has been etched into the wood and dust of every stage she stood on. Before fame added rhinestones to her name, there was just a young girl in Titusville, Pennsylvania, harmonizing with the wind outside her family's modest home. In a town with one church, one grocery store, and a radio tower reaching toward distant dreams, Marilyn Jean Seely learned to sing before she knew the weight of the words she would one day write. Can a voice carry the strength of a lifetime, even as time tries to quiet it? And when applause fades, what remains for the ones who gave everything to be heard? Born in 1940 into a world that expected little from girls with dirt under their nails and calluses on their hands, Jeannie Seely had a spark even her steelworker father and farmer mother couldn't contain. By the age of 4, her ear caught melodies in nature, and by her teens, she was staying up late, absorbing country ballads on the radio like scripture. Her dreams didn't match the size of her town. They were bigger, brighter, and covered in sequins. But dreaming in Titusville felt like singing to an empty field. So she did the unthinkable. With just $50 in her pocket, she boarded a bus for Los Angeles. There, while working as a secretary by day, she chased music under the neon night. And there, the quiet resilience of Jeannie Seely began to form, unyielding, clear-eyed, and fiercely talented. In LA, her words started to take root in the music world. She penned "Anyone Who Knows What Love Is Will Understand," a timeless song that would later find new life in the television series Black Mirror. But the woman behind the lyrics wasn't yet a household name. That would change when she moved to Nashville, the heart of country music, and signed with Monument Records. In 1966, she released "Don't Touch Me," a song that climbed to number 2 on the charts and made her the first woman to win a Grammy for Best Country Vocal Performance. It wasn't just a hit, it was a declaration. Jeannie didn't smile sweetly for approval. She smoked, she swore, and she sang about what women actually felt. And she refused to apologize for any of it. That boldness would define her not just as a singer, but as a woman. Her marriage to famed songwriter Hank Cochran, known for "Make the World Go Away," was both a creative union and a personal battleground. They sang together, wrote together, but the fire that fueled their music also scorched the edges of their relationship. Their divorce came with pain, but Jeannie didn't let heartbreak consume her. Instead, she turned it into music. She kept writing, kept performing, and found strength not in avoiding sorrow, but in transforming it. Through the 1970s and 80s, Jeannie became a cornerstone of the Grand Ole Opry, a place that was more than a stage. It was her sanctuary. Her presence wasn't just about performance. It shaped the soul of the place. Yet as new stars arrived in the 1990s, the industry that had once celebrated her began to shift its gaze. Radio stations played newer voices. Award shows passed her by. Invitations dwindled. There were no dramatic exits or public goodbyes, just a quiet fading, like a spotlight slowly dimming. While others basked in fresh acclaim, Jeannie stood at the edge, feeling the sting of invisibility. But home held her steady. In a small white house in Nashville, far from the glitter of her heyday, Jeannie surrounded herself with history. Vinyl records lined the shelves. Trophies collected dust. The kitchen smelled faintly of lavender and old wood. And behind a locked closet door, she kept a box wrapped in ribbon, filled with handwritten letters, notes to those she lost, to friends who had faded, and even to the young woman she used to be. They were never sent. These letters weren't for the world. They were for her, a way to speak truths that the stage couldn't hold. They whispered of grief, of loneliness, of resilience quietly earned. And though the world had moved on, Jeannie hadn't. She stayed still singing, still remembering. Her connection to the Opry remains deep and sacred. Since joining in 1967, Jeannie has been its longest-standing female member. Every time she steps onto that familiar circle of wood, it's more than performance. It's remembrance. The The ghosts of legends walk beside her: Dottie West, George Jones, Loretta Lynn. Her boots may sparkle less these days, but her presence still shines. She polishes the microphone that has heard it all, offering the same raw emotion it always did. After the pandemic, the backstage became quieter. Familiar voices were gone. The laughter that once echoed was now just a memory. But Jeannie still shows up, whispering to herself before every performance. It's not about the audience size or the applause. It's about honoring the song and the life behind it. There are stories even her fans don't know. In her 20s, Jeannie lost a child, a grief she carried privately and expressed only in lyrics never released. Decades later, she faced the death of her second husband, Gene Ward, a man who stood beside her when the industry didn't. His absence deepened the silence in her life. Some nights, while traveling alone, she would talk to the empty seat next to her, imagining him still there. Her strength was never loud or showy. It was in how she kept going, how she turned pain into poetry, how she refused to stop singing. In a business dominated by men, Jeannie stood her ground. In the 1960s and 70s, country music often demanded women be sweet, submissive, and silent. Jeannie didn't comply. She wrote songs about divorce, desire, and heartbreak, subjects often considered off-limits for female artists. She was called too much, too strong, too outspoken. Radio stations played her less. Promoters paid her less. But Jeannie didn't flinch. She wasn't singing to please executives. She was singing for those who needed to hear honesty. Her music didn't just entertain. It told the truth. Even her personal life reflected that independence. She ended her first marriage not out of bitterness, but because she wouldn't compromise who she was. Her second marriage was built on mutual respect. She didn't want to be owned. She wanted to be understood. And though the spotlight dimmed, Jeannie found new ways to connect. With the help of younger fans, she began exploring podcasts, social media, even TikTok. She mentored young songwriters, especially women, reminding them to never make themselves smaller to fit into someone else's expectations. Her message was clear: you're not too much. You're just enough. And if someone can't handle that, they're not your audience. As the years passed, the rhinestone gowns gave way to simple scarves and black jackets. Her voice, though aged, remained rich and full. Every note carried the weight of a life truly lived. When she performs Don't Touch Me now, the song feels different. It's no longer just about youthful defiance. It's about survival, about living through love, loss, silence, and applause, and still having something to say. Audiences rise for her not out of habit, but because they recognize what she represents. Not a relic, but a living legacy. And when the stage lights go dark and the last note fades, Jeannie walks alone down the hallway. No fanfare, no red carpet. Just her, and the echo of everything she's given. That walk, from dressing room to parking lot, is not a sad ending. It's a quiet triumph. She may not be on every magazine cover, but her story lives in the hearts of those who understand what it really means to endure. Back home, the walls speak. Old newspaper clippings yellow with time. Fan letters are still carefully kept. Photo albums show moments both joyful and heartbreaking. In one, she's laughing with Patsy Cline. In another, she's deep in thought beside Loretta Lynn. So many faces have disappeared. So many voices silenced. But Jeannie Seely remains, watching, remembering, singing. There is no bitterness in her solitude, only reflection. She knows the world doesn't always celebrate its elders. But she also knows that real legacies don't depend on attention. They live in the impact left behind. A picture of her with Willie Nelson still hangs in the hallway. They're both laughing, arms linked, caught in a moment that time can't erase. It's a reminder that what matters isn't who remembers you now, but what you left behind for those still listening. Jeannie doesn't perform for the fame. She performs because the music still lives in her. Because someone out there needs to hear a voice that understands. And because even as the industry changes, truth never goes out of style. Jeannie Seely is not a footnote in country music. She is a foundation. Her voice, her spirit, her resilience, they've shaped an entire genre. And while awards may gather dust and radio play may fade, her presence on the Grand Ole Opry stage is eternal. Not for the spotlight, but for the song, for the stories, for every woman who refused to be quiet. If this story moved you, if you felt even a glimpse of the strength, beauty, and heartbreak behind that powerful voice, then give this video a like and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. There are more stories like Jeannie's, stories that deserve to be heard.